just watched one of Memphis 3. And all the stuff that the prosecution left out of that case that literally proved these 3 kids to be innocent, and they had him in jail for fucking 20 plus years and sat on all this evidence, and the kids were fucking innocent from day one, man.
Right. Yep.
It's insane. And then, you know, getting into what they're trying to do with our former president, trying to remove his name from ballots, fucking.
Yeah, that's all getting shot down. But yeah, this is the whole purpose of all these, all these bullshit cases they've brought against them. It's not that they know they're not going to get them on anything because there's nothing to get them on. But what they're doing is trying to muddy the waters for the election, trying to use the 14th Amendment to get them off the ballot in states, which is all failing.
Yep.
And it's like, it's just funny. Like the left does not learn a lesson. Everything they try to do to him, it fails because he's not. Because they're the ones making up the shit and fucking trying to do all this illegal stuff against them.
But like we say it's funny, but it's really sad and disgusting.
Well, sad and disgusting. Yeah, I mean, yes, yeah, absolutely.
I mean, the fact that they could do this to somebody who was a former president when the guy in office has done so much more shady shit, and then don't even make me get down to the Clintons and fucking all that bullshit. But they're cool.
Well, they're all Democrats.
Hunter Biden brings
That's how it works.
Hunter Biden brings coke into the White House. Who cares? We don't know who it is. Oh, motherfucker.
Well, now they've made the Secret Service look like shit, too. It's like the Secret Service has had to lie or, basically say, well, we don't know what happened. It's like they know what the fuck happened. The Secret Service knows what happened.
The story I'm hearing is that it was literally like this. You have to go through metal detectors to go through the White House. He pulled out his cell phone that had the coke bag stuck to it, put it on because he didn't realize, put it through the belt, and bam, that's how they found it. So they know exactly whose it is. They know exactly where it came from.
And they had DNA on it too, apparently.
Of course. But Daddy said, oh, we don't know whose it is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, just your crackhead son there that day.
That's amazing. So now all, was it Mike Johnson released all the J6 footage.
Oh, good. Here's something.
Here we are again. Conspiracy theory that there were federal agents mixed in the crowd. Well, here's all the fucking evidence of it.
And a lot of evidence. I got to say about this fucking Mike Johnson, though, I'm hearing a lot. And I don't know if it's true. I've never done my own research. But I heard this guy's like against gay marriage. He's against LGBTQ and all that stuff. And, I'm not for somebody telling me whether I could say tranny or trans, but I'm absolutely for gay marriage and people to be able to love whoever the fuck they want to love. So the reason why I bring that up is because I'm hearing that Mike Johnson is literally has run, I guess, he's Congress, right? Because now he's a speaker.
Yes, Speaker of the House.
So, in his state, he openly ran on that and got voted in on that. And now he's the Speaker of the House. And to have beliefs like that and thoughts like that, man, that's archaic to me. I hope it's hearsay and it's not true. But I think I heard it from a pretty reliable source that wouldn't slander if that wasn't the case.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I know he's devoutly religious, and I don't know if he's currently anti-gay marriage. He was at one point. I know that. Yeah.
Well, I mean,
but our sitting president was openly anti-gay marriage. Somebody gives a whole speech in front of the fucking Senate about it.
So yeah, I mean, both ways. You would just hope, though, that back in the 80s, and you're heavily religious, and that's what you've been taught your whole life. But you would hope that you could grow up and make up your mind, and and realize, like, hey, okay. I don't think God gives a fuck if 2 men love each other and want to adopt a kid and raise a kid. I think God is all for that, in my opinion. I don't see where that would be a problem. Just because they can't procreate doesn't mean that they can't take care of kids that need, taken care of, and love is love, man. Whether it's between 2 men, 2 women. 2 women is beautiful, by the way. I mean, I believe in the Bible they say lesbianism is allowed. But it's just strange to me for people to still have those archaic thoughts and beliefs. And to me, honestly, I think if you have a problem with shit like that, it's probably because you're questioning your own sexuality, and dudes might turn you on, and you're scared of that.
Sure, absolutely. Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, yeah, listen, we all have conservative bents on this thing, but yeah, I'm all for gay marriage. Like, love who you want to love. I've always said that. It's like, go for it. All good.
Hold your shotgun and fuck who you want to fuck is how I say
There
it.
you go.
I'm going to bring in our man, George Taylor, who's been waiting very patiently.
Not patiently. He's not patient.
I doubt patiently as well, but we shall see. I just did the allow in. We'll see how that goes. But in the meantime, have you been, what's on your Netflix queue, Chad? There he is, George.
There's George.
There I am.
How you doing?
I'm doing well, actually. All because of one Chad Gracey.
Mm-hmm. Oh, you're muted. Something happened. Can't hear you.
I said we have the first guest. My bad, audience. I said we have the first guest that was saved by a member of Live coming on today, Mr. George Taylor.
The first and only guests.
Well, so far, you never know.
You never know.
More people in your heyday. So, George, do you want to bring us back to that day and kind of? I'm guessing since whatever happened that day was found, you're in a better position now than you were a couple months ago.
That is true. So going back to September 2nd, Chad Gracey and I were hiking at our favorite trail, and we were on probably a 3-mile hike. And on the way back, within 10 minutes or so of the parking, I felt a little faint, and I collapsed, and I had a heart attack. Now, the problem with what happens after that is that I have no recollection.
Yeah.
So I need Chad Gracey to fill in the pieces, because all I know is that I woke up 3 days later in the hospital with a heart bypass and stents in my neck, and feeling a little confused, but not bad. But in between, there was a whole lot of things that happened, and which I was privy to because I was there, but I did not experience.
So, George, so when you passed out on that hike, the next thing you remember is 3 days after that.
That's correct.
Okay, now
he was even awake later that day, but has no. And that was on a Saturday. It was a Saturday, Sunday, Monday.
That was my next question to you, Chad. Was he conscious before that, and just his memory doesn't remember it? And I guess you just answered to be yes.
Yeah, it was some kind of amnesia. Yeah, so there was actually, he felt faint. We sat down on a bench, and it was a light hike too. It wasn't like it was major hills or something. And sat down on the bench, and I said, "Hey, I can go get the car. Just stay here." He's like, "No, I can keep going." So luckily we were paralleling a trail that was on a trail paralleling the main road into Rocky Ridge, County Park. That's where we were hiking. And so we crossed the road onto the other side, and we're walking down the trail, and he got faint again. And I said again, "I can go get the car. Just if you just want to wait right here." He's like, "No." We took about 10 yards, and he went down. Like, he turned around, grabbed me, and then went down. I just kind of helped him down.
Wow.
And while he was going down, he actually broke his ankle because his leg kind of got caught underneath him.
Oh.
So he's down. He's not convulsing, but like breathing erratically and like just making weird noises. So I called 911 immediately. At first, I thought he was having some kind of grand mal seizure.
Yeah.
So I was telling the guy that, and then he's like, "No, it sounds like a heart attack, so you have to start CPR." So I did. So I started.
The 911 operator said no, it's not. He kind of figured out what it was right then and there.
Yeah. Basically, I mean, yeah. And so he's like, "You got to start chest compressions," which I did, and then he was, as I was saying earlier before George came on, he was like, "Yeah, you got to do mouth to mouth." I'm like, "Oh."
Now, George, before any of this, did you have were there times where you felt sluggish? Were there any signs before you actually had that heart attack? That time that you could have had an idea that this could happen?
I was told that I'd previously had a few minor heart attacks that weren't registered, but I've never felt them. I had no clue. Zero.
Tough dude, man. Tough.
And I was using my, I had my Apple Watch, which allows you to, read the heart rate and the EKG.
Yeah.
And there was no signs on any of that over the last, year that there was any problems. In fact, I was getting back because, we were off hiking and, the whole point of doing hiking is to enjoy it and to, do some low stress exercise. So
yeah, and we had been on a few other hikes together, deeper into the park where it would have been really hard to get to him. So anyway, so he goes down and the guy's like, oh, you got to give him mouth to mouth. So I did that, and because there was like spittle and stuff coming and foam coming out of his mouth, I was like, oh my god. So I did it 3 times. After the 3rd time, I'm like, I'm not doing it anymore because I was. Sorry, George. I was gagging and like, oh, it's just hard. It was hard. I was like, I'm just going to do chest compressions. So yeah. So we did that, and then the EMTs showed up about 10 or 15 minutes later. So I did chest compressions for about 10 or 15 minutes, and they came, and there was like 4 or 5 people came, and they started to work on it, and I was standing back, and somebody stepped on a yellow jacket's nest that was kind of right beside the trail. And so everybody in the party started getting stung by yellow jackets, except for me. I was far enough away. And so like the main crew is getting stung, jacked up by yellow jackets, multiple stings. And so a cop grabs him by his broken ankle, we didn't know at the time, and drags him down the trail about 10 or 15 yards. And before they did defib him right before the Hornets started, or the yellow jackets.
That's the
paddles. Well, it's not paddles, but they put the things on his chest and shocked him. They didn't get a rhythm then, but so they dragged down the trail. They get him onto a stretcher at this point now. People were getting stung, and they were going to shock him again, but now they had a rhythm, so they put him in the back of the car or back of the ambulance. And so at this point, a cop comes, talks to me, and he's like, next to Kim, we got to get some medical information. So I'm trying to figure out how to get a hold of his ex-wife, because that's the only person that I had any contact with. I didn't know have any contact with his kids, and his older kids. And so I'm talking to the cop, and I walk back to the parking lot to get in the car. And so I'm trying to drive out of the parking lot because I'm figuring he's transported. I'm going to go to the hospital. And there's like a little mini traffic jam, and there's still all the EMTs and everything, the fire trucks are still parked on the road. That's the only way out. And so there's a little line. I get out of the car and walk up, and there's a guy sitting in front of me, and he looks out the window. He's like, oh, that guy's dead. I was like, what do you mean? He's like, usually they transport by now. If they're just sitting here waiting there, he's dead. I'm like, oh, fuck. So he's like, I'm an ex-fireman. I know this stuff, basically. I was like, oh, shit. So I walk up to the scene, and the cop's like, oh, no. I was like, is he dead? It's like, no, he's alive. They have a rhythm. He's awake, actually. I was like, oh, shit, great. Okay. He's like, but they had to bring in another EMT crew because some of the people were having anaphylactic shock from the sting.
Wow.
And so George actually had another incident where he had to have another procedure, but he's good now. But he got to see the ambulance. You got to see some of the ambulance crew that was stung, right?
Yes.
And someone had to go to the hospital.
Matter of fact, when I went to the emergency room, the nurse had treated some of the EMTs, but they were all excited to see me because they did not realize that I was still alive.
Wow!
Because they don't get any feedback. These EMTs got to save people's lives.
Yeah.
Take them to the hospital and then dump them off, and they're done.
Yeah.
And so it was kind of like a mini reunion in the parking lot.
Very
shaking all these people's hands, like, thank you.
Yeah, so they transport him to the hospital. He's awake. I go see him. He remembers nothing. He asked me 40 times what happened, what were we doing, etc. And I just kept answering the question. So, they start doing tests on him, and they figure out that he has both his carotid arteries are blocked. One is basically 98%. The other one's like 80%. So he's getting very little blood to his brain.
Yeah.
And then had all kinds of blocked arteries in his heart. And so he had to have a lot of stents.
So George,
open heart surgery.
Do you feel like a different person now that you got these unclogged things?
I feel like I have a lease on life.
Yeah.
So, the brain is a little smarter.
It's getting blood.
My partners had all claimed that I was getting dumb over the last year. And
now we know why.
I thought that was my ADD, but I think it was lack of blood to the head.
Yeah. Well, so we're going to get back to this, but why don't we tell the audience how George and Chad actually know each other? How did you guys meet? What's the story behind that? So they're on board with us.
Go ahead, George. I've talked enough.
Well, I met Chad Gracey through the band Live.
Okay.
I had been tasked with helping with the fundraising for UFD, which was one of the original projects. And I had done, a number of events with them, including we did an event in Connecticut that, matter of fact, we did 2 events in Connecticut, and then, gone to a couple of the races, et cetera. So, and Chad was in charge of the, helping with the fundraising. So, he and I worked closely together.
Gotcha.
And that, that's how we started.
So are they going to end up dragging you into this Bill Hines mess? Are you following the situation at all?
I am following it. And the answer is, I don't think I'll be dragged into it because I'm, basically been on the outside.
Sure.
But, I can tell you that, what's going on there is just ridiculous. And, Bill Hines will have his day in court, and it will be a good one.
Yeah, it's just sad and a shame that he has to go through it again. He's already been vindicated on this once, and it was all settled, and then now he's got to go, and I'm sure pay for lawyers again and defend his credibility and stuff again. So it's unfortunate for him, to be honest.
It is.
But from everything that I've heard from everybody involved, they seem to think like, he's got nothing to be worried about, and this is a witch hunt, and it's just ridiculous. I mean, that happened.
Yeah, it's a gross misuse of the justice system.
Yeah,
it really is.
Yeah, especially when there's so many other people that they could be looking into and going after, and I'm sure there's a lot of fish to fry out there that have done actual shit.
Oh, for sure.
Pardon my French.
Mm-hmm. Like filing false police reports and shit. Yeah, that's bad.
That's bad. That's a thing, believe it or not. So George, have you gotten back into the swing of things? Are you full time back to doing what you were doing before all this went down? Where were we at that wise?
I'm not 100% back yet, but I'm pretty close. Cool. I've started. In other words, I was in the. I had the. I had open heart surgery, so I had 3 grafts put in. The surgery was 6 hours. So it was, pretty intense.
Yeah.
And then the stents in the neck were also very difficult. But those have really, I don't feel them. Like, I go, like I go to my neck, I don't know where they are because again, I think the stents are very small. I do have a pacemaker and a defibrillator built into my system now on my chest, and that actually worked last week when I actually defibbed on last Tuesday.
Oh wow!
I spent a couple days in the hospital again, just going through a cardiac catheterization just to make sure there's no more blockages.
Sure.
But, the doctors all thought that I wasn't going to make it, and they were all surprised when I did, and my recovery has been amazing. Awesome. I did a rehab today. I was doing the treadmill and the bicycle, and pretty good. So
George used to be an Ironman.
Ah,
he was actual Ironman.
Iron work
in his 50s.
So like putting
no, the Iron Man race.
Okay. I'm thinking like
not Iron Worker, no.
Yeah. So real Iron Man. We got your center. Yeah. Well, here's my question with the doctors now. Did they just throw you on all this type of medication to deal with stuff, or did they say, hey, George, why don't you look into your diet and do some exercise, or were they just medication?
It's actually a combination.
Good.
Because what happens on the medication is that you have to take, I mean, it's not optional.
Yeah.
You need to take a beta blocker. I take a statin and another drug, and and then another drug called LASIK,
Okay.
which basically removes swelling from the body, and those are not optional.
George, can you do me a favor?
Mm-hmm.
So Joe Rogan last week, the week before, maybe possibly the week before that, did a podcast with a guy named Greg Baker, I believe was his name.
And Gary Brecka, that you talking about?
Yeah, there you go.
He's awesome. Yes, I love that podcast.
Yeah, it was a great. It's like shows you how much you have to think about in this world, and you don't have time for any of it. But this guy, I don't know if you know UFC at all, but Dana White is the president,
yes.
and he was on thyroid medication. He was on medication for high blood pressure, like 7 different things. He was about 48 pounds over his weight that he is now. And all the guy did was a cheek swab to figure out 5 things that basically your body needs to produce this process called methylation or something. And within 5 weeks, he was off all his medicine, all the thyroid, all the high blood pressure. He was down 48 pounds in 5 weeks, and it was a life changer. It was because your body basically, if it's not in homeostasis, they could substitute medicine and stuff for that, but it really isn't fixing the problem. If you could fix the problem, which is what this guy is saying that he does, it could be life changing and a game changer.
Well, I think that I am very holistic.
Oh, cool.
So, so for example, one of the things I learned when they tested me, when I went into the emergency room, was I was diabetic. And I didn't know I was diabetic, but I had neuropathy in my feet. And the fact is I wasn't bad, but again, I've started a very careful diet.
Yeah.
And reduce the carbohydrates and the sugar.
Yeah.
And the unhealthy fats. And there's no question that makes a difference.
Absolutely.
I lost 20 pounds, okay, without a lot of work. Some of it was because the hospital food was so bad, but it was also because it was controlled. I was doing very controlled portions.
Yeah.
And I don't think I'll have to be on medication for the rest of my life, but until my system gets stabilized,
sure.
I have to, it's not a choice. Right. Because again, I had missed one beta blocker last Monday, and that contributed to me defibbing on Tuesday. And that was not me making it up.
Right.
When you defib, my heart rate went from 90 to 300 in a period of 6 seconds.
Wow.
And the defibrillator, again, saved my life. So
that shocks the heart to tell it to slow the F down?
Slow it down, yeah.
Wow. Oh, and tell them the part about where I talked to you, you say don't feel good, and I said call your doctor, and you went to sleep. And then it's when you defib.
Right.
Will you start listening to Mr. Gracey there, Taylor, Mr. Taylor?
See, I don't do what he says. I do what he does.
There you go.
All right.
He's a man of action. If he had been here, he would have made me, go to the hospital. Right. But what's funny is that when I did have my defib last Tuesday, I had taken a nap because Chad and I had talked on the phone and we were doing a little business. And so I took a nap and I woke up floating in the air, face up, and I'm trying to turn over.
Whoa.
I turned over and fell down into the bed, and I don't think any of that happened. I think it was a dream.
Yeah.
And I went to sleep for another. And then at 7 o'clock in the morning, the the cardiac nurse calls me and says, we just had a report on your machine because it's connected by cellular telephone to the to Boston Scientific,
Right.
And they gave a report, and so therefore I was able to look, and this is why technology is really cool. I was able to look online onto the portal from West, and it showed that it was 7 seconds apart, 2 incidents, and then literally my heart rate was fine for the next 12 hours.
Wow.
So wow. It demonstrated that it had completely improved, but they still wanted to see me. And what it is, they have a protocol. If it goes off twice, you need to go to the emergency room. You don't wait, you don't talk, you just go to the emergency room.
Sure. Now, George, you said that let's just say you were wearing an EKG for the past year before that happened. Would that have picked up and showed you? Because you said you were wearing an Apple Watch. That technically should have picked it up if an EKG will. I know it's an ECG or something different, but shouldn't it have picked it up, your Apple Watch?
It's interesting because, I had the watch. I didn't look at it at all afterwards because and then it died. So I did not get the data off the watch. But I will tell you, from a safety standpoint, it didn't do crap.
Yeah.
I mean, it gave me a false sense of security. I was doing something I really wasn't doing.
Right.
My pacemaker that I have on now, I mean, that did something. I mean, when it needed to do something, it shocked my heart and brought it back. And it also gave me full readings so that you could, see what was happening. And that was very helpful to the cardiac team.
Well, that was well said. What you said is that the watch gave you a false sense of, that you were fine. And for people out there that think, hey, I got this on, everything's good, my ticker's good. Hey, man, maybe it's not picking up everything, and a doctor visit here and there is worth it. Yeah,
also get your carotids checked out, the carotid arteries.
How do you do that? What's the check for that?
They can do ultrasound to check them. Is that right?
There's a couple things. One is that you should take there's a cardiac calcium test that you should take, and that is pretty easy to do, and that'll give you a good indication whether you got plaque on your arteries. And again, all my things had plaque.
Yeah. Well, I know a lot of people who have had leg problems for years and were going to doctors and they couldn't figure out what was going on. And then come to find out, some of it was they needed like a triple bypass or a quadruple bypass because a bunch of their arteries were clogged. And that's what was causing the leg issues. So, I mean, doctors, as much as we love to think that they know everything, they're guessing, man. They're practicing medicine. They're not, it's not an exact science. They say they practice medicine,
Well, I'm pretty much a snob when it comes to doctors. And so I was a little nervous. Well, I wasn't nervous, but my family was nervous because I didn't remember when this all happened. I had no memory. But, we were a little concerned with York Hospital, and how good it was in terms of the cardiac team.
Yeah.
What I found from personal experience is that they're amazing.
Okay, good.
I mean, like if you're any place near York and you have a heart attack, you head to York. I'm telling you.
Cool.
They did a phenomenal job, and that's the nursing. That was the all the testing, and and again, decisions in terms of which graphs you were going to do and all that. So
George,
complicated.
Again, you don't have to answer this because this could be private or not, but I'm getting people wondering if you actually took the vaccine, and if you did you get any boosters or anything with that?
That's a conversation that I've had with Chad Gracey quite a bit.
Sure.
And the answer is I had the vaccine and I had both boosters.
Wow.
You know, whether that contributed to it, I don't know.
Yeah.
It's a little suspicious, but
of course, none of the doctors said that that was the case, but
of course
that's
not.
what they would say.
Right.
Well, but the other thing is that when I was at the cardiac hospital for 2 weeks plus rehab for 2 weeks, and they're busy.
Yeah. Yeah. So showing that people are coming in.
So there's no question that there are more cardiac going on now than there was before.
Yeah.
And again, is that because of the vaccine, which is Chad's opinion?
Yeah.
My opinion is it could be because of the disease. The disease can be as dangerous as the vaccine.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure we'll figure that one out for a couple of years until they have enough data. Or was it because everyone stayed out of the hospital and didn't have anything done? And therefore, taking care of their health. And I think it's a combination of all of it.
I think you're right. I think those are all good points. Yeah. It is just weird, though, that, you know, they're not really even discussing the higher cases of these cardiac, you know, arrests or cardiac problems. And I kind of heard in the beginning, well, I took the shot, this happened, but you're not hearing any of that anymore. You're just hearing higher cases, but they're not saying why. And to me, when they're not developing a reason why, or they're not hypothesizing, it means to me that they probably know, and they don't want to have the information out there because you mandated something almost, you know, you almost had to get the vaccine at one point in order to do anything. And there'll be a big backlash. I mean, let's just say that they found proof 100%. Are they ever going to admit it? Are they ever going to rectify it? I mean, I don't know, man. I have no faith.
It is a big public health problem. I mean, there's no question about it.
And there's no recourse for anyone to take action against the pharmaceutical companies, the vaccine manufacturers.
Right.
There's absolutely no recourse.
They said right when
in the U.S. anyway.
Right. They said in the beginning when it came out, you couldn't sue if there was any issues with it, and that's a weird thing to say.
Listen, vaccines have been they've been granted liability, non-liability since 1986.
Sure.
In the United States, the vaccine manufacturers. So, and that started with childhood vaccines.
Right.
And that's when the childhood vaccine schedule exploded. Go figure. So the United States government basically cut a deal with vaccine manufacturers because their product are inherently dangerous.
Yeah.
So the vaccine manufacturers like, we're not going to make them anymore. And the United States government said, well, you know, some of them are useful, but so the United States government gave them, you know, immunity.
Yeah.
And so to this day, you cannot sue a vaccine manufacturer. You have to go to the bears court and sue the United States government. And so
good luck.
You have to prove, well, some people have proved that you know, that they've gotten damage from the vaccine. The difference with COVID vax is that it's still emergency use authorized. So you can't even sue the U.S. government for that because the U.S. government is like, well, it's not actually approved by the FDA. It's emergency use authorized. So you can't even sue us for it. So if you have a vaccine injury and it's proven, you're fucked. You have no recourse.
Which, I mean, again, they didn't technically come to my house and say you need to take this vaccine, but they made it pretty difficult for you to go anywhere, for you to have a job, for you to do anything if you didn't have it. So it's like, you know.
Now what are they saying? Now they're like, we didn't mandate it. What are you talking about? Yeah,
right.
Like, that didn't happen.
Right.
I love it.
New York was going to basically make you show your vaccine card to go out to a restaurant. I mean, there was a bunch of, and there was a bunch of companies, people I know personally, they tried to file religious exemption from it, either got fired, had to quit because their company was saying, no, it's mandated by the government and we're making you guys do it. So there's a bunch of crazy stuff. And from what again, my brain is very small, I'm stupid. But from what I hear about mRNA, you know, vaccines and stuff like that, is it could actually get in and start messing with your DNA, which is somebody a lot smarter than me explained it. But People should look into that. mRNA vaccines and what it could do to potentially to your actual DNA.
Well, it's the RNA part of the mRNA is that it makes your RNA basically produce the spike protein in your system. The spike protein is then supposed to, basically lock onto the receptor sites of COVID virus and stop it from doing anything in your body. But it doesn't work. It didn't work. And if they don't know how long the body produces spike protein, so they don't know exactly what those spike proteins do inside your body.
Exactly. But rush to get it out because.
Oh yeah, here you go. Mandate it. It's just a big money grab. That's all it was.
A huge money grab. And at first we were told, okay, this will stop COVID in its tracks. You won't get it. Then they said, well, you could get it, but your chances are less. Then they were like, well, no, you're going to get it, but it won't be as bad as if you didn't. Like,
it lowers hospitalizations. There's no fucking evidence to prove that either.
Yeah, at all. But anyway, George, are you a live fan? Were you a live fan before you were a Chad Gracey friend?
Before he saved my life?
Yeah, well, no. So of course before that, but like, so in other words, when you met Chad Gracey, had you already known about his band, and were you a fan?
No, I was not.
Oh wow!
Didn't know anything about us.
Matter of fact, it's even funnier is that I had a teenage son. Well, I had a son that was in his 20s then, and so of course I went to him because he had a band, and he goes, "Oh my God, I love those guys." We had their 8-track, which I'm not quite sure if they still had an 8-track or whatever.
We didn't have 8-tracks.
Maybe for Death of Addiction.
You mean CD?
Or cassette. Maybe it was a CD. I'm not sure.
8-track.
Well, anyways,
putting you at like 90 years old.
Yeah. So I did not. I went to a few concerts. So I appreciate their music now.
Yeah.
However, I do think that the best musician in the group is the drummer. Who is a natural talent.
Yeah.
And if it wasn't for Chad Gracey in terms of his abilities, live would have never made it to where it was.
Listen, I appreciate that, but the best musician in the band was Patrick. It really is Patrick.
I heard he was.
I don't know that.
He can play anything.
I heard Patrick as a kid was like a virtuoso, almost like just a prodigy.
Yeah, I mean, he can play anything. He can play basically any instrument. It's pretty amazing.
But let's, what is it? Pain Lies on a Riverside, dude. That drum beat makes that song 100%. It starts off with the drums, and you're just fucking with a maraca in this hand and just killing the drums with the other hand. How do you make your body move in all these different directions and be on beat? It's a difficult task.
Well, that's part of practicing and figuring just getting your body to do that. Now, I'm not as good at that as some other drummers. Like there's other drummers that can literally play different rhythms on different hands and they're different on their feet. There's a guy, El Pasario, I think his name is, on YouTube. I think I talked about him a couple weeks ago. This guy is like, he can literally play different time signatures on each limb. I'm just like,
that's great.
What's going on? It's nuts.
That's great.
Can I interrupt for a second?
Please.
Because one of the things that is important in my life is that the person who performed CPR on me for 15 minutes was a professional drummer.
Yeah.
And he said he his beat was a little fast, but it was consistent. And the fact is if it had been as consistent over that period of time, it wouldn't have worked.
Now, Chad.
So I'm a testament to his professionalism.
Chad, playing one of your drum beats on his heart, because we all know that you are the heartbeat of live. That's been discussed numerous times.
I was just keeping a steady rhythm. No beat was in mind.
There you go.
Did you do a song? Were you doing a song when you were doing it? Or?
No, I was told afterwards you got to do it. There's a Bee Gees song you have to imagine hearing, and that's the
Staying Alive, right?
Yeah, Staying Alive.
Oh, how funny!
So that's the beat.
Yeah.
Ba 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 ba. Staying Alive.
Not like that. And I was going a little faster than that, guys. Because I was stressed. So the guy, the 911 operator told me to slow down. He's like, count with me.
God bless you for a bunch of things there. For one, keep it cool, because that's a chaotic situation to see one of your good friends drop like that. And kudos for getting on the phone so quick and being able to remain calm under pressure and, do what you needed to do until the professionals arrive, man. Kudos to that.
Well, thank you. It's like, I think most people don't know how they're going to react until they're in that kind of situation. So
right.
I've always imagined myself to stay calm and like do that. So
now I can go on a hike with you. Before this, I had to question like,
here's the one thing I know: panicking never helps. So
right. Sure. Yeah, panicking, but it's easier said than done. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
People panic because they want to. They panic because it just takes over them. So
right.
Well, the other thing is that there are people that talk, and there are people that do. And Chad, and if you know his relationship with the band, has never done a lot of talking.
Right.
He's done a lot of doing.
Yes.
And this is another consistent part of that. Well,
so. Yeah, I'm gonna put this on later, but somebody sent this to me. It was live on the Dennis Miller show. You guys did "I Alone" on there, and I'm gonna play a little bit for it later, because this is, and again, just the four of them together, the magic that is made when that happens, regardless of all the personal bullshit. Just those four gentlemen together, there's fucking magic that happens, and it's undeniable. It's really undeniable.
It is undeniable, but some people like to deny it. That's all right.
Yes, they do. So I'm going to play a little bit of that later, but I want to ask you about that, Chad. When you go and do shows like that, because Dennis Miller seemed to actually be into you guys, but when you go and do shows like that, do you talk to the host before? Do you talk to the host after? Is it just you go in, play your music, and then you're out? How does that work?
It's different with every show. I mean, in my experience, like Dennis Miller would come, I think, before the show, and sometimes like Jay Leno would come before the show. Letterman, you would never see until you're on the stage, and he comes over after you play and shakes your hand.
Yeah.
Who else? I don't know. And so for a while we were shutting down talk shows. We shut down Dennis Miller. I think we were one of the last bands to play, and then we shut down Sharon Osbourne. We were one of the last bands to play on her show. Funny.
The live text, they call that. You go on and do their show, they get canceled.
That's right.
Yeah. Oh, and then I got to watch, because you didn't get to see it, Chad. The Mexico cigarette commercial that Pain Lies on the Roof. I finally watched.
Brazil, yeah. Brazil.
Oh, that's another thing. You guys hearing about? So this is crazy. George, please don't hate me for digressing like this. But apparently Brazil has had their hottest day ever. And a fan of the Gracious 2 is writing to me, and they're saying that Taylor had a concert over there and people passed out, somebody died, somebody got shot, she canceled the day. But she's saying Taylor, and she's telling me to talk to Chad about this. So I'm saying Chad Taylor had a concert over in Brazil and this happened, because we know that he's performing and doing stuff. And then I'm looking it up, I can't find anything, and then she finally says, no, it's Taylor Swift. I'm like, I don't give a shit about Taylor Swift. Why are you asking me to talk to Chad about Taylor Swift?
That's fucking hilarious.
Yeah, so I guess what they're saying is the first night happened, it was so hot, somebody passed out and died from the heat. She canceled the second night, but she canceled it after everybody was in the stadium, and they didn't let them bring water bottles in. And so supposedly it was a big debacle. And the person sending it to me was like, do you think this is Taylor Swift's problem, the promotion's problem? I'm like, I think it's a fucking act of God and just stupid mistakes were made. I don't think it's like a nefarious thing that happened.
I don't know. I think that would fall under act of God, but it's also up to the promoter to, make sure everyone's safe. It's not generally not Taylor. It wouldn't be the artist's problem. The promoter is responsible for stopping the show if there's something that's, going wrong.
Yeah.
So
And I get the whole you're not supposed to bring water bottles in because you could have fucking vodka in there or whatever, illegal substance or anything. So it's not like they were doing it because
right, but then give them free water or like
that's true.
Cheap water.
That's true.
No.
They didn't learn from
That's what happened in Woodstock 99, man.
Yeah. You guys were at 94 and 99.
Yes, we played on Friday in 99. So we didn't get to see all that craziness. We got out of there before. I think I think Bush went on last that night, and the crowd started to get a little unruly that night, but then obviously Saturday and Sunday got out of control.
Out of control. Well, I mean, when you corporatize it or whatever, and fucking water's $8 a bottle and all that shit, it's like, come on.
In 99, by the way.
Yeah, in 99, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. It's just crazy. What was your favorite one there, Chad? Woodstock 94 or 99?
The first one.
The first one. Yeah.
Yeah, the first one definitely had more of the spirit, I mean, that I can ascertain than as the first one, as 69.
So, George, do you want to dispel rumors that you're not Chad Taylor's father? Because that's what where George Taylor is Chad Taylor's father.
I would, I've met my father. It is not Chad Taylor.
Okay.
Oh, you're Chad Taylor's father, George.
What? Oh, that's right.
Not yes.
Anyways, my father is 93 years old and is healthy, living in New York. So
God bless. So you got some years to go then, man. 93. Because I always said, like, by 75, I'm hoping the good Lord just gives me a massive heart attack and takes me off. Do anybody have that type of sentiment, or like, would you want to live to 95, 100? Because it just seems like at some point you're not going to be able to do what you want to do. I don't want somebody wiping my ass, basically.
I think the answer on that is Alzheimer's. If you're starting to get Alzheimer's, you have a limited time, and they have not solved that problem. So if you're able to, avoid Alzheimer's, and keep your health, healthy, and again, you got to be healthy,
right?
It's fascinating that I've spent time at the cardiac hospital, and everyone out there is older and fatter, almost without an exception. There weren't any skinny people walking around.
Gotcha.
So I think that there is a problem in the United States with weight.
Yeah.
And I think that is something that personally you need to solve. That's not something that's going to be solved for you.
Right.
And I think you got to be healthy. I mean, and if you knew that, there's no reason why. My father's 93 years old and he's doing great.
Jordan, you fat shaming, you're going to get canceled. Watch out.
Yeah.
No, I'm sorry.
I mean,
that's the point. It's fat shaming it's ridiculous. It's like you're not supposed to be fat. Sorry.
Yeah. You're not supposed to eat McDonald's every day and be 250 pounds. That's why that was like the biggest cause of death during COVID was obesity. And
right.
Nobody
still is now. I mean, the highest correlation. I mean, if you want to go and look at correlation, it's weight.
Right. And like you said, there's no magical pill. I guess Ozempic is out there now, but diet and exercise is the key, ladies and gentlemen. So we normally go a little bit over the 2 p.m. Time limit, but we have some things to do after today's show. So we have a hard out by 2. But George, can you tell the audience, if you want to, do you have any social media or anything in case anybody wants to reach out and have any questions?
Sure. Social media, I'm on Facebook and GTaylor523.
Cool. GTaylor523.
Yeah.
He is not Chad Taylor's father.
No.
Maury Povich has done the episode on that already. But we loved having you on, George. We will have you on again. Audience, we do apologize for the shorter episode that we do. But next week, I previewed, we're going to show some Dennis Miller stuff. We're going to show some commercials from Brazil. and we're going to be putting the shit in bullshit. Chad, you got something for the audience?
No, you wrapped it up nice. Thank you for coming, everyone. Thanks for watching and listening. We appreciate it. Thank you, George, for coming on.
Thank you. Again, we are the Gracious Two, putting the shit in bullshit. All right, I think we're done there. Sorry about that, George. Chad's got something to do after this. So
I got a call to make it.
Yeah.
11. So.
But dude, thank you so much for coming on, man. It was a pleasure, and we'll definitely have you on again in the future. We'll talk about how the how things have progressed and get into some fun stuff rather than all the doom and gloom.
Good.
Thank you again.
All right, gentlemen.